even more good news on retirement that no one else is talking about. It's just, it's so, oh my goodness. When the doomsdayers on the climate change, on we're all going to go broke, all this are wrong, do they ever say, I was wrong? Maybe things aren't so bad. No, they always come back and say, it's going to be worse next. It's so stupid. Anyway, so I'm minding my own business. I have a subscription to the New York Times. I can't stand the New York Times. I mean, far left, just corporatist status. But I do like they are considered the newspaper of record. So I like to use my research from the past to show how good we have it now. In my book, Relax and Retire, I did that. I do it. I got another coming up book that I'm working on right now, comparing retiring in the 70s versus retiring now. It's just not even debatable. We're much better off today. It's just not debatable. And we'll go back and look at it, relative inflation, all that stuff. In New York Times, the subscription allows you to do that. And because I'm a business owner, I get to write it off. I mean, again, it's a write-off is not the same. A tax deduction is not the same thing as a tax credit. You got to know the difference. But anyway, so I don't like the New York Times, but be it as it may, they do have some good stuff. I mean, there's no other way around that. Historically, that had Walter Durante on there. I mean, he's a clown. Lots of bad characters by the New York Times, but the historic stuff is just fantastic. It really is, and I enjoy it. If you like history, which I do, I like it. I also have a subscription to Wall Street Journal. So I came across this article right here. And this is basically what if the spending trajectory had continued. Right? We would have $3.9 trillion difference spending trajectory on what? I'll tell you. We'd have 3.9 more debt than we have today. Actual spending trajectory. That's what they anticipate. Look, this is on Medicare, by the way. Going back to 1965 till today, the line of spending on Medicare was going like that. If it would have continued the way they anticipated, we have $4 trillion more in debt than we have today. And we don't have, we just... And here it is. The level of spending on Medicare has leveled off per beneficiary. This is actual spending per beneficiary. And we'll just go up here, right here. For nearly as long as Medicare has existed, it started in 1965, at least that's when the law was signed, has been a notorious budget buster. Yep. Annual Medicare spending per beneficiary in 1983, Reagan said, healthcare costs are climbing so fast that may soon threaten the quality of care and access to care which Americans enjoy. 1995, the Medicare trustees warned prompt, effective, and decisive actions necessary. 2011, Big Mike, Brock and Big Mike, they said, if you look at the numbers, and Medicare in particular, run out of money and will not be able to sustain it regardless of how high taxes are. That's what he said in 2011, spending $13,159 per beneficiary. If the rate of growth had kept up, I'm Steffi Joe. The rate of growth had kept up. The dotted line shows how much Medicare would have gone up to spend per beneficiary. I don't think we can see that. Maybe we can't see it here, but you can see it's a $4 trillion difference between what it is. But that's not what happened. We're spending $12,459 per beneficiary. And that's over the last 12 years, by the way. It's 2023, it's 2011. The difference is enormous, and no one is quite sure why. Now, flat Medicare spending might be a bigger story in terms of what it used to be. The federal budget is going to bankrupt us all. Something strange has been happening. Instead of growing and growing, as it always had, the Medicare beneficiary spending per beneficiary has leveled off, even though we have more beneficiaries. Isn't that weird? More beneficiaries, and yet Medicare spending has leveled off. Here comes Pablo. The trend can be a little hard to see because as baby boomers have aged, the number of people using Medicare has grown. But it's an enormous consequence for federal spending. Budget news often sounds apocalyptic, but the Medicare trend has been uniquely or unexpectedly good for federal spending, saving taxpayers a huge amount relative to projections. Yep. David Cutler, freaking clown. He one of the founders of the Obamacare stuff, clown. The reason for the per-person slowdown is a bit of a mystery. All right. Some of the reductions are easy. Congress changed Medicare policy. The biggest shift came with the ACA, the Affordable Care Act, which reduced Medicare's payments to hospitals and health insurance that offered private Medicare Advantage. So that's Part C. So one of my arguments is that Part C actually has taken a lot of the burden off of Medicare, 100%, and put it back on the insurers. And yet there's no insurers are still hot to trot with offering Part C. It's not like they're saying, it's not like they're homeowners insurance companies in Florida. They're like, we're not touching this. They're still offering Part C. So right now, it's still very profitable for the health insurance to offer Part C. That's Medicare Advantage. Congress also cut Medicare payments as part of a budget deal in 2011. But most of the savings can't be attributed to any obvious policy shift. Yep. Most of the reductions came from a category the budget office calls technical adjustments, which it uses to describe changes to public health and the practice of medicine itself. Interesting. Parts of the health system appear to become more efficient as medical providers have been more cautious about adopting new therapies without much evidence, and more care is shifted outside of hospitals into cheaper settings. I wonder if they're actually auditing it better for some of these doctors who steal from the system. You know what I'm saying? I hope so. I hope they're sending people to jail who are stealing, because that happens a lot of Medicare fraud. Still is. I just wonder if they're doing a better job of that as well. I don't know. But anyway, if the trajectory had continued, we'd be spending well over $20,000 per beneficiary. Now we're just spending a little bit over $12,000. What I've been arguing for more than a decade, says some lady, is that something that's very difficult to quantify, but is nonetheless real. Right? She says the direction of recent federal policies and choices by private insurers have caused more doctors, nurses, and hospital administrators to become more cost conscious. Yeah, because the reimbursement rates have gone down 100%. They're saying, look, you just can't prescribe everything. Now, the budgetary good news isn't all good news for people with Medicare. Reductions in heart attacks and strokes have had a big benefits for the public health, but the paucity of major medical breakthroughs has been accompanied by slowing improvements in life expectancy for seniors. Well, they're going down now because you know what? Reductions in heart attacks and strokes, maybe because we're starting to eat more meat, unlike Ansel Keys and the clowns who say more carbs, less meat. Maybe we're saying, I'm not listening to you guys. We followed your freaking food pyramid for 3 decades, and look how many people have put in the ground. Medicare may even say, I can't believe New York Times is saying this. I thought we weren't allowed. But Medicare may even wind up saving money because of COVID-19. Because the older Americans who died from the disease tend to have other illnesses that would have been expensive to treat if they had survived. What? We can say that? What? What? No. That's conspiracy talk, New York Times. You can't say that. You can't say there's a benefit. No. Conspiracy. If Medicare spending had grown the way it had for much of its history, federal spending would be $3.9 trillion higher since 2011. And deficits again are we already have the debt. Each year we don't have a balanced budget. We have a deficit, which adds to the debt. Deficits would have been more than 25% larger. It's so much money that almost no major legislation passed during this period comes close to the scale. So check this out. $3.9 trillion is 85% of all pandemic relief. 2 times more than the wars in Afghanistan and Iraq. 5 times more than all Walmart spending. 161 times more than NASA spending. NASA. So if you're a NASA lover, because we know NASA is Disneyland for adults, you're like, we should spend more on NASA. Nope, we should cut their budget. 100%. 46 times more on Homeland Security. Cut the budget. Well, we can't do this. Cut the budget right here. Cut the budget. Cut it. And NASA's got to be the first to go. 100%. Those savings have affected Congress' appetite for other things. Exactly. Medicare itself might look different, have been consistently busting the budget. You know? So anyway, we talked about Part C right here. Where was it? Medicare's spending is unlikely to disappear as a concern for the budget and policy. Now they're saying, here's the new projections. Oh, look, it might have been okay then, but it's going to go way up here. How do we know? Because we're projecting the CBO. They're never wrong, the CBO. Medicare is growing more slowly than ever, but still more quickly than the rest of the federal budget. If the slowdown per beneficiary ends, it will strain the Medicare Trust Fund. Okay, whatever. So I just want to show you a couple comments in there because and New York Times has owned part and parcel. Right here is this guy right here. Because they're covering less amounts or prescriptions, and as a result, users are needing to pay more for out-of-pocket to forego some meds entirely. At 100%. I mean, it's rationing. Here's this guy. President Obama and VP Joe Biden fought very hard for the good of American everyday people. The Republicans demanded a lot of compromises. And then they said, let's see, the other guy says, the reason is obvious, isn't it? It's because conservative biased media is afraid to give credit to Obamacare, because the New York Times is right-wing, which included major reforms to Medicare spending. Right here. Between Medicare denying coverage and doctors refusing to accept Medicare and the huge premiums they are charging retired people, it's unnerving, shameful, and surprising the costs are rising. And surprising the costs are rising at all. So basically, Medicare denying coverage, doctors refusing to accept Medicare. That's what they don't talk about. A doctor says, if you're going to reduce my reimbursement rates, I'm not going to accept your stupid Medicare. That's going to happen more and more and more. I'm telling you, man, you see this a mile away. But this guy says, I'm sure the Republicans will find a problem with this and blame the Democrats. Let's see. It's caused by rationing. So, guy in San Francisco. It's impossible to get an appointment. Simply limit the services available and you limit the cost. This is how socialized medicine functions in countries like Canada. No thank. I don't know if I can. Oh, I did. Okay, I did recommend that. 100%. It's rationing. So the cost of Medicare per person per beneficiary is dropping. That's just a fact. I did not even know that. That's pretty interesting. Your costs aren't dropping. That's a fact. But we can stop this idea like, oh my goodness, without bankruptcy, the American dollar. I just read an article today about how the American dollar is so high, growing, becoming more and more valuable. It's like putting some of these other countries at risk. I forgot I didn't read the whole thing, but it's like, wait, I thought the American dollar was going to bust. I thought the American dollar was going to go kaput. That's why y'all need Bitcoin. Anyway, so here's a budget buster that we're all talking about, saying Medicare is going to drive us into bankruptcy. We're not going to have it. Now, Medicare is broke basically right now. I'm not saying this is a good thing. I mean, the federal government as a whole is broke. There isn't enough money to pay the bills. But why? I mean, who knows? Maybe they can keep spending until the freaking cows come. I don't know. You don't know. Nobody knows nothing. That's just a fact. However, this is a good piece of news because less spending per beneficiary means potentially less increases in your Part B or Part D. Your supplemental policies and whatnot. I mean, I don't know. You don't know. But let's take some good news. We can hear it. Medicare spending hasn't gone up nearly what they said it was just 12 years ago. Now they're saying it's going to go back up. Well, maybe they're wrong this time. Maybe they're wrong. Why couldn't they be wrong about Social Security? I mean, they're wrong about green, freaking stupid carbon dioxide causing huge amounts of global warming that we're all going to die and the ice cap's going to melt and there's not going to be any ice in the Greenland when it's all fake. So maybe they're wrong here, but it's a good piece of news. And wrongly relying on Medicare, it's the law. You have to. So as such, let's take a win when we can get it. And share the news. All right, love your thoughts. We'll see you